poker game. Poker game is all about all this. And I think when I said about business, management, organization, etc., that's the poker game. And what do I think? If I laugh, it means that I think that the world is a perfect place and my life is absolutely great. No. So you see, what I'm trying to tell you, your problems, and that means your analytical questions, begin already with understanding or trying to understand it. Do you remember we said about concepts and the difficulty to define, to look at, to isolate them. Concepts, it's not like a symmetrical sort of mirror picture. So when you look at management styles, for example, this becomes very important, the distinctions between behavior, emotions, and mental processes. Now, it doesn't matter, you can put mental processes as your independent variable. That's not the issue. All I'm saying is that it's not direct link. And if you ask me how I feel, or you said that it's not necessarily coming together, I'm crying and you ask me how I feel, because you want to make sure that I'm crying and it's not because I'm upset, right? What can happen? I can tell you everything is fine. What can I do? Can you count on it? Can you count on what people say? Can you count on what people do? Yeah? Up to a point. You can. But do you have any guarantee for any of it?
No.
Why? Because what can happen?
They can change.
Sorry?
Change.
Faking.
Fake it.
I can easily lie. For millions of reasons. I'm not saying justified, not justified. That's a separate issue. I can lie. What's worse even than lying to you when you ask me how I feel and I lied? Lying to yourself. Why? Worse from a scientific point of view. Because if I lie to you, there is some sort of control over it. Some sort of awareness. You know, sometimes you say, I know that you know that I know. Okay? Or I don't know. But if I lie to myself, then you start looking into what's going on. Good luck, but that's where you start looking at it. So, back here, this is very complex, but the first sort of analytical distinctions are here in your dependent variables. Biological approaches obviously provide biological explanations compared with psychological explanation. If you look at mental disorders, they were perceived to be biological disorders in the old days, and they still are, especially the ones which are a bit more at the extreme of abnormality here. It's because of abnormality here. And brain, I think we touched about it, about brain chemicals and about brain structure. Different parts of the brain can explain different behavior, emotions, cognitions. Certain chemicals in the brain can explain certain behaviors, emotions, cognitions. Do you think it's relevant to the things that you're doing?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes.
Maybe.
Who said yes?
Me.
Elisa, why yes?
What?
What does brain have to do with businesses?
It's where everything comes out. Like
It's what?
where all the thinking comes out.
Of course. Of course. More than that. I mean, this is sort of more the obvious things. But even if you take things like risk-taking, things that are less like, because obviously cognitive processes have places, sort of, in the brain where they happen. But Is it possible that anxiety, I'm not talking about the anxiety of the mental anxiety, why do I want money? I'm trying to maximize profits. Why? Is it possible that it has to do with some chemicals that are higher or lower in the brain? Of course. Not because of the money per se, but because of the activity that it involves. And you know that in life, a lot of similar things or concepts can take different forms by just a facade. So then the development of psychological theories, that's where it starts becoming very interesting for you and for the type of concepts and dependent variables that you're interested in. And the first one is behavioralism. Do you know what behavioralism is? Conditioning. How can you study management and business without jumping off your seats? Marketing, media, behavior modification, consumerism. What are all these? These are all behaviors that are explained. If you want to influence my behavior and you want to make me buy Diet Coke rather than Diet Sprite, that's where it comes into play. Media, strategies, sublime messages.
Colors.
Yes, everything. Now, in a nutshell, behavioralism is what turned psychology into a discipline. And if psychology wouldn't have become a scientific discipline, and there are lots of issues there, you wouldn't have had management and business, etc. All the management, the business, the media, the marketing came from psychology, because psychology started developing that. And then people start like me. Actually, I'm interested in politicians. Actually, I'm interested in political behavior. Actually, I'm interested in marketing, in media, etc., etc. Because if you investigate violence and you realize that if you watch a lot of TV, violent programs on the TV, you're more likely to be violent, that's when business management, etc., started extracting what. Because again, this is applicable to anything. So it's not behavior about OCD or anxiety disorders. It's about behavior in the marketplace, behavior in the business, behavior as an employee, behavior as the boss. Doesn't matter. And from a theoretical point of view, remember what I said. That changes all the time, but your explanatory system is more or less fixed, which is why I say if you go to psychology student, and I think we talked about it, they said, I'm not teaching, I don't understand attachment because I studied memory. Now you see that this is a joke, because attachment or memory is a dependent variable that changes, but it comes out of the explanatory system, which is fixed. It's fixed. It's complex, but there's nothing more than that. The genetic explanation of anxiety is exactly the same as the genetic explanation of memory, exactly as the genetic explanation, Aliza, perfect as you said, when we were talking about management, marketing, etc. There's no difference. Behavioralism, the argument is that all behavior is learned from the environment through classical and operant conditioning, not getting into the details of it, but what it shows here, this is a classic, par excellence, nurture approach. You must know the difference between nature and nurture. Nurture, learning from the environment. Human beings are the result of what they learn from the environment. And without that theoretical principle, it would have been very surprising to see the development of media, management, business, etc., etc. Every aspect of it. Every aspect of it. One of the problems with behavioralism, you might have actually heard about the approach of SR, stimulus response. What they said, behavioralism, they wanted to turn psychology into a science based on the inductive way of investigation, which is more like the natural sciences. And what they say, emotions, can I see how I feel? I can't. Can you use your senses? Can you see, hear, feel emotion? Not really. What you can see is the behavioral aspects of it. And the same about cognitions or mental processes. Mental processes involves everything: attention, perception, planning, memory, not just cognition, not just thoughts. So what behavioralists said is, they came and said, because we can't investigate emotions and mental processes directly, just like we do with water and chemicals, etc., etc., we're going to limit ourselves to behavior. So it's a very reductionist approach, but very scientific. Now, clearly you can see that if you explain behavior only that's what, and I can tell you that's a lot of what you do in management, business, etc. You look at behavior. And what did we say about behavior? What did we say about behavior compared with emotions and cognition? So you can see it, but it can be very... Can you count on me laughing that I'm happy? It's misleading. You need to read your clients, you need to read your boss. If you just count on what he says, okay. You need to read your employees, you need to read the market, you need to read, which is why I said about, when we said about the market, the stock market as a game of psychology. Short term, long term, we can argue about that, but there are psychological elements here. Buy, buy, buy. Sell, 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 and everyone is going crazy. That's behavioralism. But something,